Full Market Talk Show. This is your host, Rian Hobson, and welcome back. I was a bit away for quite a long time. Quite a lot is happening on the markets and also in South Africa, and I must say our constitution is really, really under threat at the current rate with the land expropriation bill that get voted in today, and then also you have mandatory vaccine across companies, quite big companies now that's actually enforcing it. So, which means our constitution is really under threat. And also, very importantly, I doubt I will be long on actually on social media. Maybe after the day I will get kicked off because also I try to post stuff. I try to do podcasting. I try to do things, share on social media, and you can just see that it's not going through. So please. My podcast will be live on my website, which is bullmarketsnetwork.com. So if you guys don't see me, please go to bullmarketsnetwork.com and also leave your information there so that I can update you on what I actually gonna share, especially when it gets to the market, and also with the story of what's regarding South Africa. On my YouTube page, I don't know how long will I last there. It did happen before when I got kicked out. So I think it can happen again. So please, I'm just warning you. So if you don't see me on social media, please just know I'm get kicked off. But the main thing is I can't keep quiet anymore. I tried to toe the line for very long, especially when it gets to actually to the land question. Not much the land question is much big of a threat. The thing is, it's also the vaccine mandate that is actually pushing through to companies like you have your MTN, you have Discovery, you have Sanlam, Old Mutual, and all of these other companies that are pushing a mandatory vaccine through. Now, as I said, our constitution is actually heavy under threat, and I will cover this section now, which is actually the land story, and then also the vaccine mandates, and then I will get to the market, especially when it gets to the oil price, especially the Omicron variant. That is no longer a threat. So that I will explain how the market will behave, especially before the US market is opening. And then lastly, the big question is the United States dollar. What is going on with the dollar? Will it go further on or will it get further down? So please bear with me. I will take about half an hour to go through everything and then basically give you an idea of how you need to trade. Now, let's start first with the land question. The land question is the MPs are actually voting. It's actually going on the way where they will vote on the land question. Will land expropriation without compensation, will it go through or will it not? Now, the ANC needs actually the vote or the support from the economic freedom fighters to push actually through. Now, we all know that the DA and the Freedom Front Plus will not actually vote for this bill to go through. So it depends on the EFF and actually the ANC. The thing is, I'm actually more afraid of actually the land question or the land expropriation bill than actually COVID himself. Because if this go through, the thing is there's not a clear plan of how it will work out. Although the ad hoc committee did actually draft actually a plan, or I would say the bill, it's a draft, but we don't know how will it get executed in South Africa. And that is actually where the main problems are coming in. So I'm honestly not sure when it gets to the land question what the hell is going to happen. But it first starts with the vote. If the ANC do get the support of the EFF, then we will definitely see that the constitution will get changed when it gets to the section 25. And honestly speaking, how the market will behave, I think definitely the rand will get a beating. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange will definitely get a beating. And then the sad thing is that property prices will go down because this is actually to do with the individual rights or the property rights of people. So if it goes through, then your rights or property rights is gone. It just doesn't just apply to people who have farms or houses. It goes to people with communal land and the old traditional land that is there in the Eastern Cape and KZN. It affects everybody. And this is to do with the property rights. I actually got a clip for you just so that on ENCA where they actually have a short clip where they do actually explain of what is the consequences of it.
Expropriation, amendment to Section 25 passes. It specifically talks to the issue of land being expropriated for land reform and land restitution.
Yes.
What would be the implications on the ground, for instance, in the agriculture sector?
Oh, there are two sets of implications. The one would be that this would affect our property rights actually quite severely, and especially the farming establishment have opposed this, and we need to listen very carefully what they are saying. They are not necessarily against transformation, and I'm actually surprised by how strong the movement for transformation is amongst established farmers. But this bill will certainly affect us, and it will affect South Africa as an investment destination. Another related issue, which is often forgotten and very easily forgotten, is that these legislations, not just the Constitutional 18th Amendment Bill, but also expropriation bill, will also affect communal tenure and people who live under traditional tenure in the old homeland areas. And it is very, very unclear what will happen to those people. So there's a lot of questions that one could ask around these bills, not only around the procedural issues around there, because there are two things here. There's the 18th Constitutional Amendment Bill and the Expropriation Bill, and there are some relationships between them. But if the one is not passed, like the 18th Constitutional Amendment Bill, if that is not passed, there are great questions we can ask about the Expropriation Bill, and it will open that bill to litigation, which will also delay any kind of progress that we could make there. So this is a very, very tricky situation, and we need to have a very clear head on how we want to deal with this going forward.
That is the issue that we face today. Now, the MPs do vote actually according to the bill. As I mentioned, the ANC needs to get the EFF support for the bill to get through. It will push enormous amount of uncertainty on the economy, and we have a lot of things that we're actually trying to sift through. And if this bill gets through today, it will be very devastating for individual rights, for your property rights, and actually also it can chase away a lot of foreign investors because you don't own anything basically, and especially when it comes to property. So what is the use? You actually buy a piece of property if this is the consequences where the government can just take at any given time your property and you will not own anything. Now, the thing is with the ANC won partially land expropriation, where the EFF won all land to be owned by the government. So the government must be the custodian of all the land. That is a bit tricky. And that bill will get voted in today. Honestly, we don't know what will be in the bill afterwards. It will be a catastrophe. That is what we know, because that is what happened in Zimbabwe. And I'm actually really afraid when it gets to the story about the land expropriation. Now, I'm getting actually a comment here. Hello, Rian. That is Didre Ruru. And glad to see you back online again. I'm also glad to be back on again. The big story. Oh, sorry. Thanks a lot for the comment. The other thing is also now to do with the vaccine mandates that actually are going through in South Africa, especially when it gets to the big business. Now, government and businesses are actually debating the whole story of how they're going to enforce the vaccinatory mandate, or will it not exist at all? Now, my concern is actually the freedoms that goes with it. Look, this is a blunt attack on individual rights. If you don't want the vaccine, then you don't want the bloody thing. Whatever your bloody reason is, it is your choice. If someone else takes the vaccine for whatever reason he has, then that is fine. That is the person's choice. Now, if something gets forced on top of you, then that is now a threat of your actually individual rights. And that's why I'm saying our constitution is actually under enormous pressure, and especially when it gets to jobs. Now, there's quite a lot of companies that are actually enforcing this mandatory vaccine, not just companies, but also now you have universities. UNISA is one of them, and also Wits University, that actually stated very clearly that you need to get the jab before you can actually register, and it must be on the 1st of March where you need to have your jab. Otherwise, you can't register. Now, for the company's sake, these are the companies that are actually now that is actually enforcing the mandatory vaccines, or they will enforce it next year. And this is the several companies that goes with it, which is now, okay, several other large employers have since followed suit, include Sanlam, Kuro, and Life Healthcare, Old Mutual, Sanlam Discovery, Sibanya Stillwater, Anglo America, and among others, with support of workers' union. Now, I don't understand the whole thing of workers' union. What the hell is the whole thing of a union if they can't actually look after your individual rights? Now, the thing is, this become a slippery slope afterwards. The next thing you will hear that you can't eat meat anymore. The next thing you will hear, you have to pay for the air that you breathe. But the next thing that you hear, it's all sorts of nonsense that will come in afterwards, because once they take off your rights, you will not get it back. There's no way in hell that you will get it actually back. You will wear your mask until you turn orange. You will just have to toe the line afterwards. So it's very important for South Africans that you need to actually to hold the line when it gets to your individual rights. That is what I'm concerned of. I honestly, if you take the vaccine, or you're about to take the vaccine, that is fine. But if someone else don't want to take it for whatever reason he has, because it's his individual, it is his body, first of all, of her body, first of all. So if the person don't want to take the fucking vaccine, then the person don't have to take it. As simple as that. I don't understand why this thing needs to be drilled into people's mouths or arms just because it must be done. The thing is, the question that I always ask myself, is it actually a threat? Yes, people died. Yes, people died of it. There's a 96% chance, but literally, could you survive it? If, for example, if the virus was spreading and the people died, did the person have the immune system or not? Because there's a 96% chance of you to survive the thing. Is it really an imminent threat for our society? That is always the question that I have. Why the fuck must people go on like this about this vaccine? I just don't get it. 96% success rate. I would understand if it's a 50-50 chance, then we're like, whoa, we need to get a bloody vaccine or something to stop it. But I mean, Jesus Christ, I just don't get it. Now, I will just play actually a clip of the labor minister that makes his comments based on this vaccine.
So I just want to get more, if I can push you a little more on the mandatory vaccines.
You can't get more, except that I can tell you, we are saying it must be considered. And what is important to us, it's not just an imposition. What is important to us is to be able to engage those workers. There are a number of areas where workers were not engaged. We must engage those workers, and we must try and persuade them with powerful reasoning why this has to be done. And what we are saying is also we need to deal with misinformation and misconceptions, because the problem of the anti-vaxxers have been able to influence the people without any scientific knowledge. So that's very, very important. So at the end of the day, we are saying persuasion is better than imposition, because you might find that resistance. But I'm saying consider on those particular areas where there's threat of life, and that can be considered. And that's why, as we are drafting those directions, we have to be carefully delineate those particular areas.
That is the thing that I just don't understand. He actually said powerful reasoning. Now, powerful reasoning means that you need to listen to everybody, whether he's an anti-vax or whether he's in favor of the vax. You can't chop off people. Like, obviously, you will see me for the last time here, I think, on social media, but you can't chop off the next person's reasoning. Whatever garbage he has in his head, according to whoever, he or she needs to explain himself of why he's not taking it. I don't know what could be the reason. He could have actually a very good point. But the thing is, what is currently happening is that they're chopping off the people who's talking against the vaccine or who's asking questions regarding the vaccine. That for me is not reasoning. That is, for me, is that you have to toe this line and that's it. You must not even talk something else. You must just talk this. That is not reasoning, because you have to listen to the next person. And whatever he comes up or she comes up, you need to actually to respect that person. Now there's a campaign against anti-vax or whatever. Like, for example, someone was saying to me that I'm an anti-vax. The thing is, I took my own son to the clinic and actually let him get vaccinated, not with COVID, but with other, like your measles and those type of things. I took my son. So you tell me that I'm an anti-vax, but I actually take my own son to get other vaccines. That is the thing that actually, for me, that bothers me. You can't just classify someone as an anti-vax just because he's just asking the questions. And the thing is, what I'm more concerned of is actually the freedoms that goes with it. That is, for me, the big thing. If they can do this to any individuals, because if you read the Constitution, you will actually see, or I don't know that you see it in that way, but for me, it is that this piece of paper, which is the Constitution, is there actually to protect us against the state. That is actually why the Constitution, for me, that's why the Constitution is there. It's there. It's literally there to protect the individuals against the state. And if the state have the power to actually to throw away the Constitution, then they have actually license to kill, basically. And that is, for me, the most dangerous things. Once the Constitution is under threat, as it is now, then we have one hell of a problem. And we need everybody, whether you, the thing is, even if you're vaccinated, they could come up with some nonsense thing that you can't breathe anymore because, I don't know, you have to pay for the air or whatever the nonsense they might think of. So it's all to do with your rights that you have to protect it. That's what means important. And with this vaccine story, there's a lot of people who are opposing it. That's me including. I'm saying, listen here, I'm not taking this thing. I have my reasons why I'm not taking it. And, well, that is my reason. Why must I get now isolated in one corner? You are dirty boy, get into the corner because you just don't comply of what other people are saying. That, for me, is a blatant threat. The land expropriation story and this a vaccine mandate, which is actually pushing through by companies, that, for me, it's a bloody concern to our individual rights and also property rights. And these companies, whether it's Sanlam, Old Mutual, Discovery, they are in for one hell of a fight because the Constitution of South Africa is there to protect us against Trinity and especially the onslaught of governments. So never ever forget that you have to actually stand up for your rights. If you don't want to do something, then you don't want to do it, as simple as that. Now, I will get now to the story of the market. The market has been jumping all over the show, especially the oil price that is actually been moving. Now, I will just play actually a clip of Jerome Powell. And this is where he testified on the Federal Reserve and also with tapering. Now, this one was where the market was going down. And believe me, I think there is more to come.
The threat of persistently higher inflation has grown. The test that we've articulated, I think, clearly has been met now. Inflation has run well above 2% for long enough. The word transitory has different meanings to different people. It's probably a good time to retire that word and try to explain more clearly what we mean. You've seen our policy adapt, and you'll see it continue to adapt. You know, we will use our tools to make sure that higher inflation does not become entrenched. The economy is very strong and inflationary pressures are high, and it is therefore appropriate, in my view, to consider wrapping up the taper of our asset purchases, which we actually announced at the November meeting, perhaps a few months sooner.
Look, I don't know if you guys watched that, Jerome Powell testifying. Now, that for me was a bit scary because it looks like the guy is talking about retiring the word transitory. So he doesn't now believe that inflation is transitory. Look, I did explain this in a previous podcast. Like, this is one hell of a policy mistake what the Federal Reserve is doing. Now, it means that as they say, they're going to retire the whole story of transitory, and they will actually adapt policy. So policy will now adapt to the new circumstances because inflation is no longer transitory. So which means they're going to actually now close the bloody tap. Now, if that happens when they close the tap of tapering, that's why your Bitcoin was starting declining, because honestly speaking, the whole story of Bitcoin, where it jumps up, it was more to do with the printing of money that was all over the show. And that's why the Bitcoin was actually going up. And also your stock market went up. So there is a need for a correction in the market, which did happen, where there was now talks that they might adapt policy. So which means it could be is next week, where Jerome Powell will actually have an FOMC meeting. It could be that they stop tapering entirely and lift up the interest rates. That could be the possibility. But very importantly, there's a CPI number that comes out on Friday out of United States. If that inflation number is hotter, then you will sit with another problem, that Jerome Powell will act with aggression when it gets to the FOMC meeting. So that is what actually made the market a bit nervous. That's why the market went into a steep sell-off. On the other side, it was the Omicron variant also, because people were thinking it was a threat, and people were actually thinking it's a threat. The market think that the whole entire global market will stand still. So the people were basically selling off. Now that Omicron is out of the way, people see it as mild. That's why you see oil prices are going up, which is a good thing. Oil prices are going up, gold is going up, gas prices actually are basically going up. And with that, you'll have your Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar that are also going up because of the Omicron variant that is no longer a threat. Now, what is going to happen to the dollar? The thing is, I was thinking initially the dollar index will go up to 97. It's close. I think it will go up to 97 and then we'll take a break. But for now, it looks like the dollar might take a break actually earlier. This cycle of the US dollar and commodities, it's a normal annual cycle where the commodity prices are going up from about 26 December, 27 December. You have commodity prices are going up until March, and then it's down. It's just to do with the winter period of the Northern Hemisphere. So that is what normally happens. It's an annual trend that happens if nothing happened or for virus is happening now. But normally you have the late December, commodity prices are going up, and then it lasts until March, and then the cycle do change again. But when the commodity prices are going up, and that is where your United States dollar is basically going down. Now, it all depends on the inflation number on Friday, and also what will be the reaction of Jerome Powell next week. But for now, I think that there is a bright chance for the US market to open, where you will see all indexes are in the green, commodity prices are in the green, and also you have strength of the Canadian, Australian, and New Zealand dollar that will go up due to commodity prices that are basically increasing. And I think we might see a bit of green for today, tomorrow, and I think the nerves will kick in on Thursday when it comes to closer to the CPI number, because the market do expect quite a hot number. So for today, I think it will be a green day because Omicron is no longer a threat, and I think personally that there is already a bought into the dollar because of they're gonna stop tapering by next week by Jerome Powell. I think it's already been bought in that they're gonna stop tapering. I don't think they have much of a choice, because inflation is actually a threat. And as he said, he's retiring the word transitory. So I think we will see a green day on the indexes. That is the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ. I think that will go up. You have your commodities, that will go up as well. But I do expect that when it comes to Friday and when it comes to next week, that you will see actually the dollar gaining a bit momentum. But I think for the whole thing for the dollar is being priced in. I do think that the dollar for late December, it's going to go down, but I will keep you posted on that. So please, people, if you don't see me on social media, again, whether it's on Facebook or whether you see on my Instagram, because I do struggle to post stuff. Just remember that I'm being kicked out. My website is bullmarketsnetwork.com. That is where I will have my podcasts. You will actually go there. You will see my podcasts are there. You can also leave your details there so that we can notify you of when we have a podcast. So that is it from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. And thanks a lot, Mr. LaRue, for the comment. And I hope to see you guys again. And I will definitely not stop. I hope you see you guys again at the same time at 4 o'clock. Bye-bye.